Alright, so a few of you guys have been asking about Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and my impressions on the game so far. I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a preview demo version of the game, and I've been playing that on stream the last couple of streams, but I'm getting the question over and over again, what do you think of the game? This is what I think of the game. Welcome back, guys. Now if you're a new viewer of the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. We're doing a 10k community goal. If we can get the channel to 10k by Halloween, we're giving away a PS5. So please consider subscribing so you can contribute to the community goal. Now this is all about Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and the demo, specifically the demo of the game, that became available about a week or so ago to most people. Now the game itself doesn't launch until next week, Thursday the 1st or the 2nd of October I believe, and I'm super hyped for the game. Now I've spent a good few hours now with this demo. It contains 3 different levels. 2 levels you play as Crash and 1 that you play as Cortex. One of the levels is the same level you kind of play twice, once from Crash's perspective and then the other time from Cortex's perspective, and then it kind of switches across and it's slightly different. The other level is your kind of classic coming towards the camera level where Crash is running away from a boulder, in this case a dinosaur. So those are the 3 levels that we have access to from the demo build of the game. Now, the TLDR version, I like the game. I think it is good, and I have been skeptical about this game, you know, a little bit since it got initially revealed to us and that art style had changed and there was a few differences there. Now I was admittedly very skeptical, but after playing this build, it does a lot of stuff differently to Crash 1, 2, and 3 and to the latter versions in the game as well, but it does a lot of stuff really well too, I think. Now it's not perfect, I do have some problems with it, but let's go through thoughts and opinions on good and bad, and I'll just kind of spit them out as I sort of, as it kind of makes sense. Now, firstly, what do I like? The art style is actually really cool, and it grows on you over time. Initially, I was like, this doesn't feel like Crash, but after playing this for a couple of hours, it does feel like Crash, and it does feel a lot better, and I do like this version of Crash. It definitely took a little bit of time, but you do get over that very quickly, and it becomes its own thing. And I think that's what's important as well. The art style distinguishes it enough from Crash 1, 2, and 3, and even CTR to a degree, that allows it to kind of be its own thing, and that's nice, actually. It's not copying Naughty Dog, but is taking the best of what Naughty Dog have done and then morphing that into something else, and I think the art style sets it apart in that way. The other thing that's really nice about it is that not a lot of games have that kind of cartoony art style these days, so it does do something a little bit different that we don't see from every game. Just realizing I set the lights to red. They were supposed to be orange, but I'm not going to change it now. Anyway, the other thing that I think works really well is the soundtrack. It's phenomenal, similar to how the soundtrack was in the previous games. Now, the 2 levels that we have admittedly don't have the most banger music behind them. They do set off a similar vibe that you get from those earlier Crash games in terms of their music and their soundtrack. So I think, and I'm hoping that I'm right about this, that they're going to have some really good music as the game progresses. Now, one of the things that they've done in this, they've slightly changed up the mechanics, and this could be for good or for bad. So in the demo, Crash's jump feels different to how it feels in the previous games. He feels a lot lighter. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that you can double jump in this, so you can jump and then jump again. I don't know if this is something that's unlocked from the very beginning of the game or it's something that you earn later in the game, but in this demo you can double jump, and it does change the dynamics of everything. It is a slower jump, so when you're avoiding the dinosaur, you probably want to not double jump, or when you're doing time trials, you don't want to double jump because it does slow him down slightly. That is a mechanic, and it definitely changes the feel of things, and it makes Crash feel very light and agile, which is good in a way. But it does make his jump feel a little bit floatier than it was maybe in the previous games. Obviously Crash 1, he's very heavy to move, and you know the kind of weight distribution. 2 and 3 also have a similar physics model, but it's different again. And coming from playing Crash 2 and 3 quite a lot, especially in the Insane trilogy, this did feel very different. So I think that's something to be aware of for any of you guys who are massive Crash fans who may not have been able to try this. That does feel different. Now, fundamentally, moving Crash around feels much of the muchness, but the jumping mechanic is slightly different. So it's worth pointing out, I think. The double jump also obviously changes things, and the implications of a double jump versus a single jump, I'm not going to get into all of it, but you get the idea. Now, the slide mechanic, I also believe, is changed. There's a part at the end of the Dino Dash level where you have to slide under these rock things while jumping over platforms, and for the life of me, I can't get into a good rhythm to do this part of the game. I don't know why. Like, I can do it, it's just I can't consistently do it. So the slide mechanic has changed slightly, and it allows you to break his slide earlier or later. I'm used to the timing on a slide from Crash 2 and Crash 3, which is, like I said, where I'd spend most of my time playing Crash, and then the timing is again different on this one. Now, I don't think it's broken, I think it's just new, and you kind of have to learn it. If you have particular muscle memory of how a mechanic works in a previous game, then obviously you're going to have to figure some things out when you switch to a new game. So I think that's probably a lot of what that is in this game. And one of the other things in Crash 4 they're promoting is a lot of different playable characters. You know, not just Crash and Coco, but also being able to play as villains, Cortex, Dingodile, and even Crash's girlfriend, Twana. Now, this is a kind of good and a bad thing. I think it milkies things a little bit because to me, it sort of feels a little bit like a Spyro 3 situation where you're just dumping so many characters into this thing, so many different playstyles into this thing, and based on how we've seen Cortex and Crash play, they're completely different. Cortex feels so different to Crash. He's very stiff, he's focused more on puzzle gameplay rather than, I mean, he does have platforming, but it's more puzzle platforming, whereas Crash is more just pure platforming, I would say. Dingodile, as we've seen in some of the trailers, has a completely different playstyle, so does Tawna. And I think that could go one of two ways. It could either outstay its welcome, or it could be used sparingly enough or effectively enough that it doesn't impact the overall experience negatively. I personally didn't enjoy Cortex's gameplay anywhere near as much as I enjoyed Crash's. I liked how they gave you the opportunity to play as him, and I liked how that interacted with Crash's storyline. I think those two elements were really cool. However, Cortex's gameplay was just very stiff. You're using his blaster to shoot, and it feels kind of like you're playing a completely different game, if I'm being honest. And that could be awesome for some people. I remember when I was a little kid, I dreamed of playing as Cortex, but now that you actually get to do it, I don't know if I like it that much. It's kind of a weird one. So that's another thing that could go one of two ways. My biggest concern is that you have a Spyro 3 situation on your hands where you have all these different playstyles with different characters, and it kind of muddies the waters. Maybe even more similar to a Crash Warped, where like there's not as many foot levels as there is vehicle levels. Vehicle levels being other characters in this instance, and you just don't get to enjoy as much of that classic Crash platforming. But I can't honestly give an opinion on that one way or another until we see more of the game, honestly, and see what the final product looks like. Overall, though, I did have a really awesome experience with this, despite the mechanical changes. I think one of the things I'm going to become frustrated with is the fact that you have to play through the game very linearly. Previously, you can obviously pick which of the 5 levels you want to jump into and play, so if you're sucking at one of them, or you're struggling with one, you could just jump into another one and continue to progress through the game. This game here is more similar to Crash 1 in the sense that you have to play through every single level in a row before you can go into the next one. My guess is it's because it narratively fits in some way. That could become a challenge, especially if you're not particularly great at the levels, like me in Dino Dash. Who knows though, like I'm not really sure about that. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of them changing things up in that sense. However, like I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. One other thing before we close out is around the masks. These are interesting. So in the demo you get to experience 2 of them. You get to experience one that slows down time. Let's talk about that now really quickly. That's a really weird mechanic for Crash because it changes the timing of everything, and once you get the hang of using it, it's not so bad. But the first few times that you use that thing, it just throws everything off, and it's confusing and sucky, and I'm like, what is going on here? Because your timing gets completely changed. You get used to timing things in a particular way, then suddenly you shift time, and it's like everything has changed. So that was a learning curve, but when you do get the hang of it, it does add an additional element on there, which is nice. The other thing we got access to was a mask which shifted things, I guess, in and out of reality, I suppose. So made boxes appear and disappear, obstacles appear and disappear. That one there was very simple to get the hang of. It was a lot more simple than the time mechanic mask. And I think that one there will be a lot easier to kind of grasp and get your head around. My guess is that will be the first one that you unlock just because it's a little bit more straightforward to use. So that could be, I don't know. The masks could go one of two ways. I think they're going to be good. I think that they will help the game and they will enhance the game in some way. My guess is that they're so embedded into the game that there's no way you can play through the game without the masks. but they're there regardless of whether we like them or not. But I think they're going to enhance the game further, which is kind of a neat thing too. The last thing is this classic versus new age mode. I guess the new age mode removes lives from the game, and the classic mode enables them again. So you can kind of play through it the way that the Crash 1, 2, and 3 games played, or this new way, which is, I guess, a little bit easier for people because they can continue to practice parts of the level if they're not particularly good at them. So even if you suck, you're not going to have to restart the whole level again to get to that obstacle to then kind of repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Maybe that is like an answer to the linear level design, which I mentioned earlier on as well. So overall, verdict is positive. I love Crash Bandicoot, as you guys know. I'm a massive Crash Bandicoot fan, and I am very excited to play the final game when it comes out this Thursday. Experience with the demo was good. I think it was a good way of letting me get a hands-on experience with the game before the game came out, which is awesome as well. And I can't wait to do the final game on Thursday. I will be live on Twitch on Thursday, premiering the game the moment it ticks over to live. So come over there and check it out if you want to watch Crash before anyone else gets their hands on it over on Twitch on Thursday, and you're about to hang out with me. I'll probably go live an hour or so before, and we'll chat for a little bit, maybe play a bit of Crash 3 in preparation for Crash 4 to come out. So feel free to come over and join me there. Description of something I'm sure has popped up down here by now. But that's my impressions of Crash. Let me know what you guys think. Have you tried out the Crash demo? Did you guys think it was good? Did you guys hate it? Did you love it? Have you been following much Crash coverage? What are your thoughts? I'm really curious to get your thoughts and opinions on this game as well. Are you as excited as me? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below and giving your boy a like. I do like a like. Otherwise, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks, guys. Bye.